guest today is Win Parkinson. We're going to say a Wisconsin legend, way back when, to Boys Tech and Milwaukee Tech. Win, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me on. Appreciate it.
How about a little personal background about yourself that you'd care to share with the viewers?
All right. First of all, I graduated from Cudahy High School, and in high school I played football, basketball, baseball, track, and I was born without a foot, and so when I first got to Cudahy High School, I was a sophomore on the football team, and they declared me ineligible to play because of the leg. You couldn't play with a cast or any hard object. Okay. And so they had to make a ruling on me as to whether or not I could play. So it took a couple of weeks, and then supposedly I was supposed to have foam rubber around it and all of that. And they did allow me to play. And then when I played basketball, I was the only one that played with long pants. I had the pants out of the same material that the other players had for shorts. Mm-hmm. And people would wonder, why is that guy out there with the long pants, they had to have the leg covered is what it boiled down to. Okay. But then they allowed me to play, and then the fact that I was able to play with an artificial right leg, and all the help and support that I got from coaches throughout my career, really influenced me and helped me in terms of wanting to be a teacher, wanting to coach, and feeling as if I was able. Not every athlete is an outstanding athlete that's able to play without good coaching. Mm-hmm. So I think if I had a strength in coaching, just the fact that I knew that, I had to put in extra time, and I had people that supported me and helped me, and I'd never forgotten that, and that's something that I wanted to do. So that's what led me into my teaching coaching career.
So that starts you out in high school, and really, when people go through high school, you don't always know at the time how much time and effort people put in behind the scenes until you get a little bit older.
Well, yes and no. I mean, I spent a good share of my life in a gym, mm-hmm. and I never regretted that. I mean, there were days you never saw any daylight hours. You go to school in the morning, and it's dark, and then I always, especially when girls came into play, I always allowed them to have the gym first, because I thought it was more important for them to get home in a more reasonable time, and we kept our players. And we'd do our running, our rope skipping, and conditioning in the halls, and then when they were done practicing, we'd go in the gym. So you're talking about leaving at 7:30, 8 o'clock every night. So you get there before it got light in the morning and leave it at dark at night.
You sure do, and you almost think it's probably a minimum. Looking back, it's probably, if you got to school around 7, it's probably like a 12-hour day type thing on non-game day.
Well, and we had 3 coaches in our building. I was always fortunate. I had very good assistant coaches. So I had a freshman coach, a sophomore coach, and then I did the varsity by myself. And then I always ran a varsity reserve team. Mm-hmm. So we ended up playing 15 games in most seasons, and we'd play when we went to originally we played Fridays and Saturdays. Then we went to a Tuesday, Friday type schedule. Mm-hmm. So if we played on a Tuesday night, our Monday night practice was just a game orientation type practice, a little shorter, and then we would have our varsity reserve game after that. And I always remember the kids saying, "Well, Coach, do we have to practice if we're playing the game afterwards?" And I tell them, "Well, if that's a problem, then I'll just cancel the game." He said, "Oh, no, we want to play the game."
You choose one or the other.
I said, "Well, then you got to practice." And he said, "Okay." And that was one thing, they knew what I had accomplished, and excuses were never a part of my life. So that was one of the things we said. If you want to make excuses, go talk to the door, or somebody wants to listen to them. I don't listen to excuses. Don't tell me what you can't do. And so I think, we were blessed with having good kids through all those years. And then the other thing was that, I had the same assistant coach from day one, David Borowitz, and he's in the Hall of Fame, and justifiably so.
Absolutely.
He and I were always on the same page. We did camps together, and never once did we sit down and go over what we were going to do in the camp. So, his wife was an artist for a printing company. Okay. And so he took care of the T-shirts, trophies, and I wrote the whatever we were going to do in the camp.
Okay.
And we'd get there 10 minutes before, and I'd say, here, you do this, 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 and I'll do this, and away we went. And so from day one, we were always on the same page.
You could probably finish each other's sentences, I imagine.
Yeah, absolutely. And see, he was the only sophomore coach I ever had, and then we did have maybe 3 or 4 different freshman coaches.
Okay.
And then we worked in different gyms. He was in what we called the old gym. I was in the new gym, and so as the new freshman coaches came in, I mean, he always made sure. Like everybody says, we were successful because we had a system. Mm-hmm. And see, that system started with the freshmen doing a certain number of things on the floor, and then the next level would be at the sophomore level. We picked up from there, and then at third level, we put the final touches on everything that we were going to do. And our system was basically the same for years. You know, we tweaked things here and there, but you know, pretty much we ran pretty much the same thing for 30 years.
Boy, and they sure got good at it. There's no question, because it's the consistency piece.
Yeah, you know, here, like what happened, like we did change our offense. We started out with a fairly simple offense, you know, and then you know, I started coaching in 1968, 69. And at that time, there was a shuffle offense, which was very principled, and there was a guy by the name of Dave Buss that ran that at Green Bay, and I mean, he ran it to perfection. Where they had the cut on, he had tape on the floor, and they had the cut, and everything was very, very disciplined. And then, you know, as people got better defensively, where they did different things, I mean, you could take some of those cuts away and so forth. And then they went to that motion offense, where it was the complete opposite, and they just read defenses in terms of what they were doing, and you know, try and create things from that, what the defense did. And then along came the flex, and that's the one that I ran for almost all of my years. And what happened with the flex is that, you know, it provided us a chance to read the defense. You know, you get a lot of back cuts and see what the defender does. The hedge, does he go under, does he go over, and they would read. And then we had different options off of that, depending on what that defensive player did. So that was really well suited for us, because I thought our kids, we were blessed with really good kids, and they accepted roles, and so they were very disciplined. They, you know, very coachable kids, and so that flex was just tailor-made for us. And I think if we had one real strength, like our shot selection, I think over the years was as good as anybody that's ever played the game. So we very seldom took a bad shot. And then, you know, we were very unique in a lot of different ways too. Like we had what we call the fourth quarter rule. When kids got tired, they'd always say fourth quarter. And so, you know, everybody, if you're going to be in good condition, everybody hits that wall at some points in time where you got to push and extend beyond that. And I think our kids picked up it. They never let anybody down. We said, don't ever let your teammates down. So when they got tired, you know, they'd say fourth quarter, and they would just, you know, fight as hard as they could to bring out whatever it took to get them through that practice.
You know, I have a few examples from, you talk about the flex with continuity. That was nice, because that combination of that, the continuity when things weren't going well, and then the reading aspect, so you're not a robot, is a wonderful, combination.
For us, it worked, because then, as I told you, with our freshman coach, now they took care of the entry passes. You know, like we were making a guard-to-guard pass or a guard-to-forward pass. And I didn't like when I first got at the guard-to-guard pass. They intercept that pass, that's a basket on the other end. So, I mean, they learned how to make the proper entry passes, and then we had what we call the rotation, where if a guard comes down, instead of making a guard-to-guard pass, he can't make it, he'd call rotate. He'd go down the corner, everybody rotate positions, and then you make your pass out, then you're able to make your guard-to-guard pass.
To relieve the pressure.
Yeah, to relieve pressure. And so then, when our sophomore coach got it, now he added some other things, some different sets that we used, and different adjustments to what defenses did. And then I picked up all kinds of things. I don't know if you remember Woody Wilson. Woody Wilson was a basketball technician. He was at Evansville, and he had all kinds of stuff on the flex. So he sent me things. I talked to him like once a month. He'd send me stuff on the flex offense. And so each year when we talked about tweaking things, we did the same things, but we tweaked things to fit our players. And so we would put in all of those little adjustments you could make depending upon what defenses did. And so that, people said that they could stop us with the flex by doing this. Like, you either had post play or you had got your shot at the elbow. So we could stop one of those things. But actually, we weren't real blessed with big kids, but our kids could post. Our guards could post. And a lot of smaller guards, they can't defend against the post. And our guards love that. Here's a little kid that takes somebody into the post.
Well, they never practice defending the post.
They don't practice it, for sure. They don't practice it. So, we were able to do a number of different things with it that they just, they weren't able to defend. In fact, another team that I went over and talked to, Mark Adams at Brookfield Central, they've run that flex for years.
Yep.
And he had Joe Thomas. And I said, I'm telling you right now, this Joe Thomas, he might be a basketball player, but he can post. You teach him how to post, and it's going to make your perimeter game so much better. And he got a lot of miles out of him as a poster.
Oh, right, because then if nothing else, you're going to work inside out.
That's what you wanted. And see, like when you run the flex, all your shots are from the elbow. Like we didn't have the 3-point shot for most of my career.
Right.
So all of our shots came from the flex. All of our shooting drills were at the elbow and so forth. So now Brookfield Central, they had some pretty good shooters, and they could. We always told kids to break on 2 planes, to walk yourself into that defensive player and then explode out. Now, they would explode out a little bit past that, the top of the key area. And that. He had good shooters, and he had a lot of success with that. But if you're getting that, if they're going to take away the post, you got your perimeter game. If you take away a perimeter game, you get your post play. And like he had a kid that they can go to. Now, we had to maybe put our guards in there at times.
Right.
And they couldn't defend that because, again, they had, a smaller guard playing against a guard who's used to just playing on the perimeter. Now all of a sudden he's got to go in and play at the post, and he's not able to do that. And again, our guards got a kick out of it. They love that post.
It's an equal component too, because when the flex being everyone's going to play a certain position, play their spot based off the screen and whatever else. The opposite of that, the difficulty teams that I coached had a difficult time were the post players or the bigs playing outside.
Right.
That was a tough transition too.
That's where it's come to today. Like you get a post player like here you get Ethan Happ at Wisconsin. He can't play in the NBA. He can't shoot.
Right.
If they can't, and he's not strong enough. He's not physically strong enough just to be a post player. And they don't want a guy that's just they want people out of the post because they're so athletic.
So
today.
They can drive.
Yeah. It's become penetrate and finish or penetrate and kick out and. Where they shoot so many 3-pointers now. Oh,
everybody does. Once again, our guest is Win Parkinson, a longtime coach in Milwaukee at Tech High School. Now we're going to find a little more about the background. We jumped right from Cudahy High School to the coaching career. Take us past Cudahy up until when you started coaching at Tech.
All right. After I graduated from Cudahy, then I went to Whitewater, and I did play. I played my freshman, sophomore year, and people didn't think I was getting a fair shot, but what it boiled down to, I wasn't quite good enough to play at that level. I was a 6'1" forward, which wasn't really small at that time. I graduated from high school at 61, so this was 61, 62 that I started playing at Whitewater.
Okay.
But people were like 6'3", 6'4", 6'5", and I didn't have enough ability to compensate for that. I was going to jump higher than them. I think I had good hands, and I was a fairly strong kid at that time. And I could shoot the ball, but now I couldn't move out to a guard position. I don't think I ever won a foot race in my life. I could probably beat Kathy on occasions, but she doesn't think so. But
only if you get a jump on 1, 2, 3, go on 2, get a head start, right?
Yeah, and actually I think I started each season probably in better shape than anybody. I worked extremely hard at being a player. I would overcome some things, and I was determined. I wanted to play, so I gave it my best shot. But I realized that I wasn't going to be a guard. I couldn't handle the ball. I didn't have that explosive quickness, and and I wasn't going to defend against those people on the perimeter. So that, then I played a lot of city basketball.
Okay. Did you know at Whitewater you're going to go into being a teacher? Did you know that early on?
Yeah, like as soon as I got there, I wasn't sure what I was going to do, but getting into my freshman year, I decided that that's what I wanted to do. Is I wanted to teach and I wanted to coach. And then the only thing was that I started out as a biology teacher, and then to do the biology I had to take chemistry, and so I took chemistry for my first semester. I really enjoyed that.
Okay.
And so then I just switched to having a chemistry major and a biology minor, and then I ended up getting my degree, and I was assigned as a junior a middle school teacher in Milwaukee Public Schools. I had an offer at Deerfield, Illinois, and then I really wanted to come back home. So I grew up in Cudahy. I took the job at Milwaukee Public Schools, and I was going to be assigned in a middle school as a physical science teacher, and the chemistry teacher at Tech resigned right before August, and I was the only one that had the chemistry degree.
Timing is everything, isn't it?
Yeah, somebody told me once that athletics timing is everything. So that was the only job I ever had then, was at Tech. And so Tech, it was Milwaukee Trade and Technical High School, and it's now Bradley Tech. But what they did was they offered 17 different shops.
Okay.
And then chemistry was one of their shops. So what they meant by that is that when they entered school as a freshman, they would take exploratory shop. So they'd go 4.5 weeks. You're talking electric shop, machine shop, carpentry, all the trades, plumbing.
Right.
And then chemistry was one of their shops. And so then after that freshman year, then they would make that determination into which shop they were going to go into, and then they'd take double period classes.
Okay.
So chemistry they'd normally take as a junior or senior. They would take as a sophomore, and if they were in a chemistry shop, they took it for 2 periods. So that was really a great teaching situation for me. I had really good kids there, and then the fact that I taught mostly the qualitative analysis and organic chemistry in the second year, and so that general chemistry, like, nobody really understands it.
Okay.
And then when they go on to school, and you usually end up going to college, and if they take chemistry again, then some of those things start making sense. So what these kids would take chemistry that freshman year, and they'd get into their sophomore year, or in their junior year, and they'd retake it with all the lab. Like in that qualitative analysis, I only lectured maybe a dozen times the whole semester. The rest of it was all just doing the lab work and identifying unknowns. So they'd learn the solubility rules, the equation writing, all the stoichiometry problems, the things that were difficult for kids in that first year.
Right.
And they got hands-on experience. Like, that was the whole thing with Tech. The Tech training was a hands-on experience, so chemistry went right along with the rest of the trades in having hands-on experience. And then, like, the second semester, they took organic chemistry. And I don't know how many, like, now that I'm old, I'm retired, you get these people that come back. I get invited back a lot for reunions. And in fact, the interesting thing, like at Tech is such a traditionally strong school. The alumni, they have a picnic the Saturday before Father's Day. They've been doing it for over 30 years, and they get from 500 to 700 kids, Tech graduates. Yeah, and so this is where I hear that these girls would come back and they said they never had that nursing experience had it not been for their chemistry background at Tech. They were, especially the organic chemistry.
Oh, wow.
So that was always really rewarding. And then, like, we were a city high school where they didn't give much credence to their academic skills. And we put them, we'd send some of our chemistry kids, they'd get tested along with the Marquette and Brookfield and Shorewood and Whitefish Bay kids, and we'd send 3 of them, and the 3 of them would usually end up in the top 25. And we had some really good kids, and then the fact that they had so much more chemistry and the hands-on experience was so important for them understanding the material.
You know, it's funny you say that when they come back, because it gives you a different sense of both fulfillment and reward to hear some of those things that
Right.
maybe you had a hunch or you hoped for.
And then, you know, like I had my teaching career for 35 years, and then I went on and I taught 3.5 years in the jail, county jail. They got 3 full-time Milwaukee public school teachers in the jail. So I did that for 3.5 years. That was a good experience, you know, because they're still human beings.
Absolutely.
And a lot of times these kids, you know, they're not dumb. What they're doing, they're thought to be not intelligent. And you know, they walked the halls. They were insecure. And so once I built a relationship with them where I said, I just want to know what you know so I can help you. I mean, I'm not interested.
No judging, right? No criticizing.
I'm not judging you at all in terms of what you know. I've got to know what you know so I can help you. And once they realized that I was there to help them, it was a wonderful experience. And then I did 1 year at St. Charles. That's where they send all the bad kids.
St. Charles Boys Home on 84th Street.
Right, right. Yeah. Now, if a kid doesn't do well in high school, they'll send them there for 45 days, and then they review what they accomplished there. And you know, that was an experience. So
they're all different challenges. They sure are.
That was very challenging. Like at first, when I took that job, I thought, oh man, what did I get myself into here? But then it got to the point where I got along okay with those kids, and so we handled it all right.
What is life like as a retired person? I know that you obviously the world, it starts and finishes with Kathy, but what's life, the rest of retirement for you?
All right, now that's what I was getting to. Is then I went back and they started an IB school at Ronald Reagan.
Okay.
And so they started out from scratch with freshmen, and so the principal that took over had just come to Tech. Her name was Julia D'Amato. And she knew I had just retired, so she asked if I would come over there. And one of my chemistry students was hired as a chemistry teacher. One of my basketball players was hired as a FIA teacher. She wanted to know if I would just mentor them and start an athletic program.
Okay.
So that was their 3rd year of existence. They had 300 kids there. So that's what I did. And then we co-opted with, it was called WCLL, Wisconsin Conservatory of Lifelong Learning. And we put together an athletic program. We had soccer, boys and girls soccer. We had basketball. We had volleyball, and that was about it. And we just, as they grew, we kept adding sports, and then we went on our own. And then they were complaining because now as we grew, she kept giving me substitute teaching assignments.
Okay.
And she said, well, I'm going to fix them. I'm going to get you a teaching assignment. So I went back and I taught for another 7 or 8 years. I taught chemistry there.
Okay.
And then I finished up there, and now that was 2014. So now the last 5 years I've been subbing. So I still substitute teach a little bit. Now that's partly because Kathy was always in human resources.
Okay.
And so she's still working full time. Did you ever have a woman that was with a man and he wasn't working and she was? That's a no-go.
Oh, that wasn't going to work that way.
No, it wasn't going to work.
Okay.
So now I got to sub.
It's nice of you to be considerate and think of her feelings.
Absolutely.
Good man. Good man.
So she said, "Are you working today?" I said, "Absolutely I am. I'm just a working fool,
We have we talk a lot about taking the I leave the city or taking the boy out of the city, but you can't really take the city out of a person. Like for me, we're going to host a soccer quad next year, and we have Jefferson close by. We have Waukesha South and Ronald Reagan coming. That's what makes up our four teams for our quad. Whenever I think because of my upbringing and being in the city, I try to have a balance and give some exposure to our kids out here to different things, both going in the city and having teams from the city coming out by us. I think otherwise it's just they never get exposed to it.
Yeah, see, even when I coach, I told you I ran a varsity reserve team myself, and then we always went to Sheboygan with Tom Desseltel. He grew up in the city.
Yeah, Andrews Park area, I think.
And we never played a home game, so we went twice to Sheboygan North. We went to Manitowoc with Brian, what was Brian's last name, Kathy?
It doesn't matter.
All
Last
right,
name.
but at any extent, we went there in Manitowoc, and then we did all the Racine schools, Kenosha schools, Waukesha schools, so it was a good experience for our kids. And all of our kids got a chance to play them.
Yep. You know, so people watching the show are thinking, geez, who was Win talking to in the crowd? The first person in the live audience that we're having on this YouTube experience, obviously, is Kathy in the front row. So we didn't know we were going to have participation from the audience, but we had it on the fly, Win. That was wonderful. We weren't expecting it, but it was good. So you think about for you, you know, how do you stay involved in athletics now? I mean, because it's a big part. Do you still work out? Do you participate in stuff? What do you do?
All right, I still, you know, I just had a pacemaker put in, and so now one of the things I have to have is to get my heart rate up on a daily basis.
Okay.
So I go to the gym every day.
Okay.
I still sub, and sometimes when I sub, I'm tired at the end of the day, I don't go.
Okay.
But I probably average 5 or 6 times a week for the last 8 or 9 years.
Okay.
And then
It's great.
we have grandchildren now that are at Catholic Memorial.
Okay.
So we go to quite a few of their games. We went to the Catholic Memorial game last night, you know, and the grandson is playing on the sophomore team.
Okay.
And then I'm still on a lot of those committees, you know, for Hall of Fame, for coaches, players, referees, and that sort of thing. So we get around to a lot of basketball games, and like Kathy's wonderful to have because I still enjoy watching the game.
Right.
Like the game, it's a different game than what I
Sure
coached
it is.
against, but I still enjoy watching it. I wouldn't be able to coach that type of team anymore. They're much different, and you only maintain an edge for so long, you know. And so we go to that tournament in Concordia. That's the Wisconsin basketball
Yep,
yearbook
over Christmas.
tournament. Yeah, and you know that'll start at 10 in the morning and go till 10 at night. Now we'll usually go maybe 2 or 3 in the afternoon, and we'll stay there till 10 o'clock. And she goes with me for all the games. We never miss a state tournament.
She's a trooper. Let me ask you this as we get ready to wrap the show up. Where would your adult life be? Could you envision it had it not involved sports in any capacity? Your relationships, your friends,
right?
everything.
Like I think about that. I mean, I look. You know, one of the things you do as a coach is to try to get your kids to understand where do they fit in. You know, and I consider myself so fortunate to have the life that I had with athletics and the relationships and the people I've come in contact with. And like I told you, Tech has such a tradition and such a pride. And for like over 30 years, they've been doing that picnic.
Right.
Now, this is just the last maybe 7 or 8 years that we've known about that. When they invited us back, we go there and to see all of your former players and.
It's got to be nice to socialize.
Yeah,
That's what it
it's
is.
great experience.
Once again, our guest, Win Parkinson. This concludes another edition of Sports Talk. Until next time, keep talking sports. Win, thank you for being here.
Yep. Yeah.